Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the IS Companion. Today we delve into the Supreme Court of India. In the realm of constitutional design and judicial structure, the Indian and American systems present a fascinating study in contrasts. While both nations are federal republics, their approaches to judiciary organization are markedly different, reflecting their unique historical contexts and constitutional philosophies. The Supreme Court of India holds a unique and powerful position in the country's judicial system. Its extensive jurisdiction and vast powers distinguish it from other Supreme Courts worldwide. It functions not only as a federal court, akin to the American Supreme Court, but also as the final court of appeal, similar to the British House of Lords. Furthermore, it serves as the ultimate interpreter and guardian of the Constitution, ensuring the protection of citizens' fundamental rights. With advisory and supervisory capacities, the Supreme Court of India has more authority than any other Supreme Court globally, as noted by Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, a member of the Constitution's drafting committee. The Indian Constitution has established a unified judicial system, with the Supreme Court at its apex and high courts below it. Beneath the high courts, there exists a hierarchy of subordinate courts, including district courts and other lower courts. This structure, which was inherited from the Government of India Act of 1935, enforces both central and state laws through a single integrated system. In contrast, the United States employs a dual judicial system. Federal laws are enforced by the federal judiciary, while state laws are enforced by state judiciaries. This dual system underscores the American commitment to federalism, ensuring a clear demarcation between federal and state judicial powers. India's unified judicial system was inaugurated with the establishment of the Supreme Court on 28 January 1950, succeeding the Federal Court of India created under the Government of India Act of 1935. Unlike its predecessor, the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India is broader, having replaced the British Privy Council as the highest court of appeal. The Supreme Court's framework is detailed in Articles 124 to 147 of the Indian Constitution, which address its organization, independence, jurisdiction, powers, and procedures. The Parliament holds the authority to regulate these aspects. Currently, the Supreme Court comprises 34 judges, including the Chief Justice of India. This number has progressively increased from the original 8 judges stipulated at the inception of the court. The most recent expansion occurred in 2019, following the enactment of the Supreme Court Number of Judges Amendment Act, 2019. Judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President of India. The Chief Justice is appointed after consultation with the necessary Supreme Court and High Court judges. Other Supreme Court judges are appointed similarly but with obligatory consultation with the Chief Justice. The interpretation of the term consultation has evolved through various landmark cases. Initially, in the first judge's case, 1982, consultation was interpreted as an exchange of views. However, in the second judge's case, 1993, the court deemed it to mean concurrence, making the Chief Justice's advice binding on the President for judicial appointments. This interpretation was further refined in the third judge's case, 1998, which mandated a collegium system involving the Chief Justice and 4 senior-most Supreme Court judges. Any adverse opinion from 2 judges could halt a recommendation. The appointment of judges faced significant reform attempts with the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2014 and the National Judicial Appointments Commission (NJC) Act of 2014. These reforms aim to replace the collegium system with the NJC, a body intended to provide greater transparency and accountability. However, in the fourth judge's case, 2015, the Supreme Court declared these reforms unconstitutional, reinstating the collegium system to preserve judicial independence. The appointment of the Chief Justice of India traditionally followed the principle of seniority until deviations occurred in 1973 and 1977, leading to controversy. These deviations were addressed in the second judge's case, 1993, reinforcing the practice of appointing the senior-most judge as Chief Justice. To qualify for appointment as a Supreme Court judge, a candidate must be an Indian citizen and either have served as a High Court judge for 5 years, practiced as a High Court advocate for 10 years, or be a distinguished jurist in the President's opinion. Judges take an oath affirming their commitment to uphold the Constitution and laws of India. Their salaries and allowances are determined by Parliament and cannot be altered to their disadvantage post-appointment, except during a financial emergency. Supreme Court judges serve until the age of 65, and their tenure can end through resignation, reaching the age of retirement, or removal by the President upon parliamentary recommendation. Removal procedures are outlined in the Judges' Enquiry Act of 1968 and require a rigorous process involving investigation and special parliamentary majorities. Additionally, the President can appoint acting, ad hoc, and retired judges to the Supreme Court under specific circumstances to ensure the court's functionality. The seat of the Supreme Court is in Delhi, although the Chief Justice, with presidential approval, can designate other locations. The independence of the Supreme Court is safeguarded by several constitutional provisions. These include the mode of judicial appointments, security of tenure, fixed service conditions, financial independence through the Consolidated Fund of India, prohibition on discussing judges' conduct in Parliament, a ban on post-retirement practice, contempt powers, freedom to appoint staff, and the non-curtailment of its jurisdiction by Parliament. The jurisdiction and powers of the Supreme Court are multifaceted and can be categorized as follows: original jurisdiction, writ jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction, advisory jurisdiction, court of record, judicial review, constitutional interpretation, and other powers. Firstly, the Supreme Court's original jurisdiction involves resolving disputes between various entities of the Indian Federation. This jurisdiction is exclusive and pertains to conflicts between the central government and one or more states, between the central government and states on one side and other states on the other, or between multiple states. The disputes must involve questions of law or fact on which the existence or extent of a legal right depends. Political questions and suits brought by private citizens against the government are excluded. Additionally, the original jurisdiction does not extend to disputes arising from pre-constitution treaties, interstate water disputes, financial matters referred to the Finance Commission, commercial disputes between the centre and the states, or recovery of damages. The Supreme Court's writ jurisdiction empowers it to issue writs such as habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, and certiorari to enforce the fundamental rights of citizens. This jurisdiction is concurrent with that of the High Courts, meaning an aggrieved citizen can approach either the Supreme Court or a High Court directly. Unlike High Courts, which can issue writs for other purposes as well, the Supreme Court's writ jurisdiction is confined to the enforcement of fundamental rights. However, the Parliament has the authority to extend the Supreme Court's writ jurisdiction for other purposes. The appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court encompasses appeals in constitutional, civil, and criminal matters. For constitutional matters, an appeal can be made if a High Court certifies that the case involves a substantial question of law requiring constitutional interpretation. In civil matters, the Supreme Court hears appeals if a High Court certifies that the case involves a substantial question of law of general importance. Originally, civil appeals were limited by a monetary threshold, which was removed by the 30th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1972. In criminal matters, appeals can be made if the High Court has reversed an acquittal and sentenced an accused to death, or if the High Court itself has convicted and sentenced an accused to death. Appeals can also be made by special leave, a discretionary power that allows the Supreme Court to grant leave to appeal from any judgment, excluding military tribunal and court-martial judgments. The advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court allows the President to seek its opinion on questions of law or fact of public importance or disputes arising from pre-constitutional treaties and agreements. While the Supreme Court may refuse to tender its opinion on the first category, it must provide an opinion on the second. These opinions are advisory and not binding on the President but serve as authoritative legal guidance. As a court of record, the Supreme Court's judgments and proceedings are preserved as legal precedents and cannot be questioned in any court. It also has the power to punish for contempt of court, which can be civil or criminal. Civil contempt involves willful disobedience to court orders, while criminal contempt includes actions that scandalize or lower the authority of the court or obstruct justice. Judicial review is another critical power of the Supreme Court, allowing it to examine the constitutionality of legislative enactments and executive orders. If found violative of the Constitution, these enactments or orders can be declared null and void. This power ensures that all governmental actions comply with the Constitution. The Supreme Court is also the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution, guided by various doctrines such as the doctrine of severability, waiver, eclipse, territorial nexus, pith and substance, colorable legislation, implied powers, incidental and ancillary powers, precedent, occupied field, prospective overruling, harmonious construction, and liberal interpretation. These doctrines aid in resolving ambiguities and conflicts within the constitutional text. Additionally, the Supreme Court holds several other significant powers. It decides disputes regarding the election of the President and Vice President, investigates the conduct of members of the Union Public Service Commission, reviews its own judgments, transfers cases from one high court to another, and exercises judicial superintendence over all courts and tribunals in India. Its law is binding across the country, and its decrees are enforceable nationwide. Moreover, the Supreme Court's jurisdiction can be expanded by the Parliament or through special agreements between the centre and states. In terms of legal practice before the Supreme Court, there are three categories of advocates: senior advocates, advocates on record, and other advocates. Senior advocates are designated by the Supreme Court or High Courts based on their expertise and standing, and they must appear with an advocate on record or a junior advocate. Advocates on record are the only ones entitled to file documents in the Supreme Court, while other advocates can appear and argue but cannot file documents. In conclusion, the Supreme Court of India holds a paramount position in the judicial hierarchy with extensive jurisdiction and a broad spectrum of powers, ensuring the protection of fundamental rights, upholding the Constitution, and maintaining the rule of law across the country. India's unified judicial system contrasts sharply with the dual system in the United States, embodying different philosophies of law and governance. The Supreme Court of India, with its comprehensive constitutional protections, plays a crucial role in maintaining the rule of law and safeguarding democratic principles. Thank you.